FM.
You like that?
Hello.
Hello. You like that one, didn't you? You're enjoying that?
I like most of the stuff I've ever done. I mean, it's kind of like nice to be reminded that I really am kind of great. When I coin a phrase, you know, I know my work's value.
Yeah. Right. What about Steve Jones on guitar? He's memorably described in the book as a mountain of butter wedged on 2 cowboy boots.
I was being polite.
Do you remember recording that?
We know each other so well that we giggle about stuff like that. That's, you know what I mean? I mean, we trade barbs now, and we've been doing it like for 40 years.
And he did put on a bit of lard, didn't he? There's no denying it.
Yes, it's definitely butter.
Do you remember recording that, John? Are all the sessions still clear in your mind, or is it a blur?
No, it's not a blur at all. It was a bit of a nightmare because it was our first real experience in a recording studio, like, you know, dead earnestly, seriously. And it took so long for the
well, you didn't really
engineers to put down the backing tracks.
Well, you didn't have a functioning bass player, did you? Really? Was Steve doing the bass as well?
That didn't really matter. It took so long to put the backing tracks down that when it came to the vocals, it was one take and stuff. And so, but that's all right because I work really best under pressure.
Yeah.
You know, but it was a bit odd trying to fit my voice into a pre-recorded backing track. I would have much preferred we did it all at once together. And I couldn't get used to headphones. I still, to this day, I can't bear wearing headphones when I do a vocal.
Right. So it's just got to come through the speakers.
Yeah, what I tend to do is put the speakers out of phase.
Right.
So you can cancel that in the mic, and then so the voice picks up au natural, really.
Nice. Yeah. Anger is an energy from Rise. Now, it's one of your great phrases, what you might describe as a verbal grenade, but a lot of people might not realise the inspiration for that was the apartheid thing.
No, it goes back further than that.
Does it? Right, yeah.
It goes back to meningitis when I was young.
Right, okay.
I lost my memory, I mean, completely from that disease, and it took me many a year to recover fully. I mean, I lost everything, who my parents were, where I was, how my body was to function. I couldn't coordinate speech. It took a long time to come back. And the hospital and the doctors advised my parents, they told me years later, was to keep me angry, and that would spur memory.
Right.
And so anger is an energy.
Yeah. Was it not related to the apartheid thing later on?
No, I used the phrase. I used the phrase again because it was multi-applicable. You know, anger is an energy, and anger does not necessarily mean violence. If it proves positive, you don't need the violence. It doesn't solve nothing.
Yeah. Well, you talk in the book about that quite a lot. You said Gandhi. He's a great hero of yours, isn't he?
Yeah.
And that sort of dynamic.
Passive resistance. I think that's a stroke of genius, you know. That's better than anything Jesus came up with.
Right.
And I think it works. If you know, if an invaded nation just down tools, that's it. The whole infrastructure collapses. So bugger off back to where you come from.
Right.
I mean, if you don't want to support the Tory regime.
You talk a lot in the early parts of the book about the impoverished background. I love it, but you always love clothes. You've got a very fine, what do you call that, a tank top? Or
V-neck.
A V-neck, but sleeveless.
Yeah.
Is that Fair Isle, or...?
I have no idea. No. It just reminds me of World War II.
Right, yeah. But you always like clothes. You said your mum made you nice clothes even though you had money, like tartan waistcoat, you remember?
Yeah, no, she loved us to look like, you know, saucy little things, but well coiffed and tailored. And you'll find that in poorer backgrounds, that the kids are always like well presented.
And so did that all stay with you, like dressing
Dickie
up?
bows.
Yeah, Dickie bows.
My mum loved Dickie bows.
There's some
she
nice.
Did make some horrible mistakes.
I'm sure.
A sky blue sailor's outfit.
Well, you know, you've got to have the courage to fail, haven't you, with these things?
Get out of it. You know, at 4 years old, I wanted to kill her.
But you like a good outfit. There's a picture of you in a very fetching Pinocchio suit.
That's a great outfit.
What was that for? A gigging suit?
No, we were on tour. It was the Sex Pistols got back together again, and that was a particular part of Japan, and I thought, you know, I thought, Mr. Rotten, don't you know, what's this cliche about having to wear punk clobber? You know, I'm the one what invented it, and I'm telling you, Pinocchio's a punk.
Right, yeah, it's a good look.
Your background, you talk about very vividly in the book, working class background, that's once upon a time was the kind of background most people in British rock came from, and now that seems to be completely changing. Like acting, it seems to be becoming a rich kid's game, doesn't it? You think?
Maybe that's an inevitable digression.
Right.
You know, until, you know, those posh wallies like bore us to death to the point where it reverts back to a social upheaval is required for that.
But clearly your background...
And lucky for me, I suppose, I accidentally fell into one.
Right, yeah.
I was something to do with the making of it, but...
But it clearly, your background was a massive formative influence on you, wasn't it?
I mean, the working class side. I mean, I'm not being stupid here, and you know, and I'm not talking hate against kids that can't help them about the money their parents have. I'm saying that there's values in working class culture, and you know you have to work hard for your living, and that sets you in good stead in the future.
Yeah.
We mentioned the roundhouse.
And we don't nick off each other, you know?
No. And there was a sense of you storming a citadel, wasn't there, as well, when you came through?
Oh, yeah, you remember the early soccer days then? That was invasions.
I mean, you had a lot of music at home. You described that, you're watching your mum and dad dance and things. You say a lot of music. You didn't take to the Beatles. You say you preferred Nod and Slade.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, Slade and Queen or whatever, and there's many bands. They came later, but in the early days at the Beatles, it's the "She Loves You, Yeah, Yeah, Yeah."
You didn't take to that, really?
No, really, never at all. I just found that really annoying.
Yeah.
And I know the high fashion at the time was plastic Beatle wigs.
It was, I remember, yeah.
Well, I never liked them because I couldn't afford one.
A plastic Beatle wig.
Then later on in the book, Paul McCartney dashes over to say hello to you, doesn't he?
God, that was surprising.
Yeah.
And you know, I apologised to him because I met him.
Yeah.
A couple of years later, and I said I couldn't cope with it. And even the cab driver, oh my God, I've seen it all now. One of the Beatles, like running across the road. I'm banging on the window. I just put the lock down and turned away, and it's like, you know, shock, really.
Yeah.
You know, no insult intended or meant. It's just I didn't know how to cope with that precise moment.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. People would assume that you would sort of just face off any moment, really. You don't think of you having that kind of vulnerability.
I'm a human being, and you can get caught out, you know, many a time. It's interesting. How many late-night drinking sessions have you said the wrong thing?
Well, exactly.
To the right person.
Talking of late-night drinking sessions, it's funny the characters who pop up. I wasn't expecting Jeremy Thorpe to make an appearance.
Well, he was a dapper dresser.
Very sharp guy.
Yeah. Very fond of his tweeds.
That was like late night in the Houses of Parliament.
Yeah, well, that was a laugh because then you know some girls that you know. Ladies of the evening, shall we say,
Indeed,
and they got us in, and it's the most amazing thing about it all was, you know, this is like in the middle of like just starting the Pistols, was the sheer audacity of them swineherd we call politicians in there quaffing ale a penny a pint.
Exactly, in the strangers' bar.
Well, hello, if that's possible, what about the rest of us, you know?
Yeah.
Parasitical ponces and things like that really annoy me a great deal, and so that was my lasting memory of the Houses of Parliament. I paid no attention to the architecture.
Listen, we're going to play a record, and one of the good things about this book, we've talked about your upbringing and everything, and it does show another side of you, because we're going to play Death Disco, which I think at the time a lot of people thought was sort of an example of your nihilism, but I mean it was written for your mum, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it was a requiem, really, to the slow and very painful cancerous death of my mother, and using the theme of Swan Lake for inspiration, you know, and I did my best and tried to convey some sense of the screaming sense of loss and agony I was feeling about that. I was very close to my mum and my dad, and we are like that as a family, regardless of the problems we've been through with each other. Breaks my heart every time I hear it, but I still can't keep away from it. I still perform it live to this day, and every night it's different. there's another new aspect, like a vivid memory that will pop up.
Right.
Oh my God, I'm welling up.
Okay. All right. This is Death Disco. Public Image Limited, Death Disco. John Lydon is here. Anger is an Enemy. My Life Uncensored. Congratulations!
Energy.
Publication day today, isn't it?
Publication day today. Sounds extraordinary, that record, doesn't it? I mean,
sad as hell to me.
Yeah.
Internally, but it's still got a zest for life somehow, and that's kind of what I wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
You don't always get what you want when you put music together, but somehow it's got a semblance of how I genuinely feel about that entire situation. I can't accept death very well at all.
Right.
From anybody, even worst enemies. You know, I kind of miss their space. I miss their energy.
Yeah. What about because I mean, there's you've lost quite a few people outside the family, band members and people along the way, of course. When you listen to that and you were listening to Wobble's bass line and everything, I mean, in the book there's a lot of conflict in the early days of Public Image, particularly between Keith Levine and Wobble. Did you feel out of the frying pan into the fire really after the Pistols, or do you thrive on conflict?
I should have been a bit smarter and knew that my gaggle of alleged friends were just as bloody insane as I was.
Right.
It was asking for trouble. But, yeah, even though it was a problem situation, I mean, we put together some damn fine pieces of work there.
Yeah.
Right.
So did the
integrity was there.
Did the conflict feed into that, you think?
Maybe because of the Pistols, such an ugly situation for me. It was very uncomfortable. Animosity seemed to be the order of the day. I presumed that that's how you made music, in an uncomfortable works position.
Right.
So I continued that. And because I'm a slow learner, it's taken me a long time to realise that there's a much better way of making music, and that's work with people that really do respect you, and you really do respect them.
Yeah. Which is the band now.
Which is the band now.
Yeah.
There's a bit where you talk about going on fantasy football and you hating it, and what I thought was really stood out for me is you said one of the things you didn't like what Buddy and Skinner said was they're mocking old England footballers.
Yeah, outrageous audacity. You're trying to mock that fella. He did something good in his life, and you're two sarcastic, spoilt brats, and they're up there like pontificating.
Because people would assume you're not.
David Baddiel's on tomorrow. We'll put it to him.
Oh, actually, I met him the other day.
Yeah.
And hello, Mr. Beale. He explained it all as it was that Skinner what did it.
But are you more patriotic than people think? Are you more English than people think?
I don't like international football, so that isn't my problem. It's just that just someone who really went through it when it really mattered. They weren't getting the big money now, these spoilt brats in ballet slippers are demanding. Yeah, hard as nails, hobnails. It's tough times.
You're still a big Arsenal man, aren't you?
Yeah, I do love my team. I don't think very much of the manager. I'm going to say something else there about him.
That's all right. Thank you for that. Nice detour, nice body swerve.
I don't want to feed too much into the enemy, but he's doing us no favours. Right? But that's football, isn't it? I mean, everybody's got to moan about their team, but I'm loyal through and through, from 4 years onwards. Right? I have to endure, but I'll outlive Wenger.
Right, you will.
And all us true proper Arsenal are of that mindset.
Do you know, one of the things that came out of the book to me was like how a lot of your songwriting is perhaps more personal than people think, and Death Disco is perhaps the best example. Because you say at one point that you sort of identified that as the difference between you and Joe Strummer. You say Joe Strummer was kind of going for the headline stuff, where you were always more interested in the personal story.
He'd watch the news at 6 and he'd have Karl Marx in front of him and he'd be like underlining certain sentences, and that's no way to write a song. That's kind of like second-hand fraudulence, isn't it? Me, personal experience.
Yeah. Even things like I am the Antichrist and all that,
And if not, then a sense of empathy for a situation that affects me somehow, but always from a humanistic point of view.
Yeah.
And then first time I heard, God Save the Queen or Anakin UK, with lines like, there's no future in England's dreaming and where the flowers in the dustbin, I thought, and it doesn't come as no surprise to me. See, you liked Ted Hughes and people like that, didn't you, when you were a kid?
Yeah. Oh, my God, brilliant poetry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's now that flows in the dustbin's got a bit of larking about it.
Well, the libraries were a bit of a haven for you. In fact, you've talked to Elizabeth, haven't you? And we're going to put that out in our library programme about your
I
love
love
of
libraries.
books.
I do. They're information centres. I don't think the internet is really the information highway it's alleged to have been. It really is now just gossip and innuendo.
Right.
And you have no way of backing up or finding out if anything is true on it.
Yeah.
A book was a book, and it was the written word, and you know,
does that
the
mean
standard by which we all stood. And books matter.
Yeah. Does that mean it feels great on publication day?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, Mum, I got one.
Exactly. Yeah. Listen, we could talk, but we'll let you go. But just one thing: did you really sell a rubber suit to Reginald Bosanquet?
Oh yes.
And he looked lovely.
Did you know this was at sex?
Yeah. What I loved about Reginald was he had no shame about it, and he, in fact, enjoyed the presentation.
Yeah, right.
You know, he didn't want to hide behind a screen. He stood out there loud and proud.
For people young who don't know, he was a big newsreader. He was the kind of Hugh. I forgot his name.
News at 10. He was the kind of Hugh Edwards of his day.
He was.
Yeah. And I got to say, I salute fellas that do mad, crazy, brave things, and don't feel the need to suppress anything about themselves just to please some aspect of Protestantism. Yeah.
Well, that's...
You know, church ladies telling us we can and can't do.
And before you go...
Have you ever done a church lady?
No, I've not. I've spoken to the Women's Institute.
They fight back.
And they, before you go, just tell us about the concept of the final unlistenable note.
Yeah, ultimately, it's sometimes on stage, I'm trying to achieve something there that I go beyond, and it's getting higher and higher and higher. And I've got this vision that I'll finally hit a note so high that my head will explode.
Like Scanners.
Yeah, very much so. And I think that's a perfect thing to aim for, until I finally burst every blood vessel up there between the ears. Yeah. I won't have reached nirvana.
But a glorious way to go. As long as it happens after Arsene Wenger, as you has gone.
Oh, it definitely will. In fact, I'll do it in celebration of his demise.
Anger is an Energy, My Life Uncensored, John Lydon. It's out today, as we've been saying,
Yeah. Great to see you, John. Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Thanks for having us and being so kind.
From Rise, it's one of your great phrases, what you might describe as a verbal grenade, but a lot of people might not realise the inspiration for that was the apartheid thing.
No, it goes back further than that.
Does it? Right, yeah.
It goes back to meningitis when I was young.
Right, okay.
I lost my memory, completely from that disease, and it took me many a year to recover fully. I mean, I lost everything, who my parents were, where I was, how I am.
You like that?
Hello.
Hello. You like that one, didn't you? You're enjoying that?
I like most of the stuff I've ever done. I mean, it's kind of like nice to be reminded that I really am kind of great. When I coin a phrase, you know? I know my work's value.
Yeah. What about Steve Jones on guitar? He's memorably described in the book as a mountain of butter wedged on 2 cowboy boots.
I was being polite.
Do you remember recording that?
We know, dead earnestly, seriously, and it took so long for the
you didn't really
engineers to put down the backing tracks.
Well, you didn't have a functioning bass player, did you? Really? Was Steve doing the bass as well?
That didn't really matter. It took so long to put the backing tracks down that when it came to the vocals, it was one take and stuff. And so, but that's all right, because I work really best under pressure.
Yeah.
You know, but it was a bit odd trying to fit my voice each other so well that we giggle about stuff like that. That's, you know what I mean? I mean, we trade barbs now, and we've been doing it like for 40 years.
And he did put on a bit of lard, didn't he? There's no denying it.
Yes, it's definitely butter.
Do you remember recording that, John? Are all the sessions still clear in your mind, or is it a blur?
No, it's not a blur at all. It was a bit of a nightmare, because it was our first real experience in a recording studio, like it's into a pre-recorded backing track. I would have much preferred we did it all at once together.
Live.
And I couldn't get used to headphones. I still, to this day, I can't bear wearing headphones when I do a vocal.
Right. So it's just got to come through the speakers.
Yeah, what I tend to do is put the speakers out of phase.
Right.
So you can cancel that in the mic, and then so the voice picks up au naturel, really.
Very nice. Yeah. Anger is an energy from...